And blessed to be a part of your day. Joining us now from Chicago, Dr. Roger Klein to talk about the Right to Try Act. Of course, patients' rights, health care, so important no matter what your age. Dr. Klein, good morning.
Good morning.
No,
how are you?
Not bad. I guess I should ask you, how are we when it comes to medical care in this country?
How are we when it comes to medical care? Mm-hmm. I think we're doing a good job, and I think we're continually improving. We've had some legal changes in the past few years that I think have made things more difficult for patients and doctors. We've got a lot of it's expensive.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about the Right to Try Act. Can you fill us in on that?
Sure. So the Right to Try Act, or the Right to Try law that President Trump just signed into law, removes barriers to allowing patients to try new medicines that are promising, patients who are dying, and they're in conjunction with their doctors. Patients who don't have other options can try new medicines. I think so. Previously, the FDA had to be involved in these decisions, and what it's done is it's placed the decision to try a new medicine, if a drug company will give it, in the hands of patients and their doctors.
Well, Dr. Klein, anything else you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think it's an important win for patients' rights and for the president. It's an interesting situation. If you have patients who are without hope, who are dying and don't have other alternatives, it seems odd to prohibit them from trying promising new drugs. These are drugs that have gone through what are called phase 1 trials. They're primarily safety trials, but for newer medicines sometimes can give information about their effectiveness. And I think I think it's a long time in coming. 40 states have passed laws similar to this, and so it was. I think it was a real victory to have Congress enact this law and have the president who was a strong backer sign it.
All right, Dr. Klein, thank you very much. You have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
All right, that was very compelling. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's see if we can wake you up with this one. Well, we'll get back to that. At least this is happening on Friday and not a Monday. Let's try it again. Sarah Sanders.
Instead covered something totally different in Palace Intrigue, a massive piece of legislation that had bipartisan support that was life-changing, literally life-changing for millions of Americans. Two networks chose not to cover the president's remarks on that. He's simply pointing out the bias. The president's pointing to the hypocrisy in the media, saying that the most horrible things about this president, and nobody addresses it. Where was Bob Iger's apology to the White House staff for Jemele Hill calling the president and anyone associated with him a white supremacist? To Christians around the world for Joy Behar calling Christianity a mental illness? Where was the apology for Kathy Griffin going on a profane rant against the president on The View after a photo showed her holding President Trump's decapitated head? And where was the apology from Bob Iger for ESPN hiring Keith Olbermann after his numerous expletive-laced tweets attacking the president as a Nazi and even expanding Olbermann's role after that attack against the president's family? This is a double standard that the president is speaking about. No one is defending her comments. They're inappropriate, but that's what the point that he was making.
And there we have it. Sarah Sanders laying the smackdown here. 580-5436. 580-KIDO, again, breaking overnight. We've got Samantha Bee making her comments. And what about the media double standard? It only continues to strengthen the president when he makes his case that you can't trust the media, where the left-wing folks continue to celebrate the destruction of the president, and they go on and on. The celebrity double standard.
Oberman, that has-been, was just rehired by Disney-owned ESPN for the 6th time. Yes, the same Disney that just fired Roseanne. He has a well-documented history of misogyny and degrading attacks on women. Just a few examples. He referred to Michelle Malkin as a, quote, big mashed up piece of meat with lipstick on it. He said of Ann Coulter, if this guy wants to live his life as a woman, I'm going to back his choice up 100%. And of course, he said, of me once, she's a perfect demonstration of the necessity of the work Planned Parenthood does. It's a great look for you, Disney. Way to say to all of your female viewers, up yours. Here's the deal. I predict today, Sam Bee, Keith Olbermann, Joy Reid stay right where they are. Why? Because liberals generally get immunity. It's that simple. Look, this is not whataboutism. I made no excuses for Roseanne. I said ABC was absolutely right to fire her and to cancel her show. I also said they were wrong to hire a conspiratorial, bigoted nut job in the first place. But you cannot say with a straight face that there isn't a double standard when it comes to offensive speech on the left and the right.
And there we have it. Your reaction at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So anything goes, it seems. We can say what we want about the president. You get to keep your job. You get to have a good time. But if you cross the libs, if you would say something about Barack Hussein Obama, Mrs. Obama, the Obama girls, whomever, well, that is horrific. You know, you get a chance when you're talking to your friends on the left, if you have any friends that are the libs, you should ask them, do they agree with what Samantha Bee said about Ivanka Trump? You should ask them if they agree with Keith Olbermann on what he says about women and what he says about President Trump. Going back to what Sarah Sanders said, there is a celebrity double standard. And man, woman, whomever would have been fired for that. Now, again, should Samantha be fired for that? If you're not going to fire Keith Olbermann, if you're not going to fire Jemele Hill, if you're not going to fire anyone else, this is case in point that we are again under siege, under attack by the liberal loons on the left. What is the value in doing that? What is the value in saying those things about someone? It goes to show you that when you're in an argument, whether you're a little kid or a not so little kid, whether you're young or young at heart, that you can always tell when you're winning an argument because your opponent doesn't use logic, your opponent doesn't use common sense, they go personal, they go gutter, they do everything they can. And we've seen that. You go back to George Bush when they called him Hitler. You go back to George Bush the first when they called him an idiot. Ronald Reagan, what they said about him. You know, Pat Buchanan, I urge you to YouTube it when he talked about the cultural war. That's where we are today, the cultural war. And right now, they're winning. They're winning. I love how all of a sudden these sponsors are going to pull the plug. It's not up to the sponsors. It's up to the American public to say enough with the celebrity double standard. Lee Joe joins us once again at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Lee Joe.
Hi, good morning, Kevin. So my campaign pretty much was bringing up the issues you're bringing up, that we're having problems with affordable housing. We're having problems with old ladies and grandmas and great-grandmas and World War II generation getting run out of their house because magically your house value's gone up and you don't have a method to give the government their rent. So in the legislature, I think we can change a lot of that. You know, break people free of their property tax. You know, once they turn a certain age, and then we actually need to just freeze property taxes where they were at whenever you bought the house. I mean, if you bought it high and you know that's going to be your property tax, that's where it freezes at. If you bought it low, congratulations. You don't owe the government as much money for rent on your own land. So, and then going back to bonds and the school districts, we've the Boise School District keeps passing these bonds that, you know, they have the election on the same day that all the kids have a play, and they pull all the parents in and say, okay, now vote for better schools, et cetera, et cetera. And it's always an NEA wish list that those bonds fund. You know, a new school here, a new school there. It's never a remodel or a fix this or fix that. And the Boise School District was, for a long time, in decline as far as population goes, but yet we pass another $90 million bond it's been every 10 years or so now, because the last one was going away. We've got to pass a new one. It's ridiculous. We just need to keep shoving more money down the education's throat, you know, and not efficiently. It's just wish list, and inefficiency. And, you know, when I'm elected to the Senate, it's going to change. I'm at least going to stir the pot a lot more than it's been stirred.
Well, the problem with Boise is that the libs are taking over.
Yeah, well, and that goes back to the affordable housing thing. The libs don't want skinny houses in Boise. Well, how are you going to get population density and a lack of commuter traffic other than to put more houses on smaller pieces of land?
Right.
You know, you just, if you can put some density in there, then, hey, guess what? I don't need to drive so far. And the price of housing doesn't go up so fast because we're meeting demand in the places that there is demand.
Yeah, I just really, you know, I would hope that someone, you know how the libs took over Colorado, Lee Joe?
Yes, I do. And Montana and California and Washington and Oregon.
Right, they're coming here. I just wish that we could do that in reverse, and somehow we could break the big deadlock of boss Dave Beater. Dave Beater runs this joint, you know, and he and his liberal acolytes on the city council, you know, they run the city of Boise, and they're you know, out of their North End headquarters. It would be nice if we could pull a reverse on them. Yeah,
I think they're talking about building a dome over the top of 6th Street, so it looks a little more like the Kremlin when they get done.
Well, you know, is it going to be Little Seattle or Little Portland?
It's repeated itself over and over throughout the West. The liberals start in the biggest city, and then once they populate an area, it goes, and it keeps going and going. I mean, and I was raised in Nevada, but we got Las Vegas just overcame the whole state, and now, you know, there's more Democrats coming out of there than you can shake a stick at. But the rest of the world out there just can't believe the people in Las Vegas. So, but you know, and I'm running against the assistant minority leader, Grant Burgoyne, and what's he done for my district? Add the words, and what else? Well,
Lee Joe, thank you for the call.
Nothing. Thank you.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to 580 AM, 107.5 FM, KIDO Talk Radio. Tom in Nampa, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Well, good morning, Kevin. Yeah, I got my assessment in the mail the other day, and I was shocked. I bought a place last summer with a tax-deferred exchange on a rental property. I sold in California, paid $158,000, and suddenly the tax assessor said it's worth $184,000. And I know property values are going up, but that's about 16%. I don't think they've gone up that fast. So it seems to me like these county tax assessors are the ones which people should be angry at, not say, oh, it's the libs or something like that. I don't think it's a partisan issue at all if these assessments have been going up like crazy. In California, when you buy something, we have what's called Proposition 13, and it's locked in at that assessment, and only go in as 2% a year. Add to that as the maximum, and it's capped at 1% of whatever your assessment is. So property taxes aren't that bad in California. But I think we see how this thing plays out, because you know what they'll probably do is cut the assessment. When the assessment's gone up, they'll probably turn around and lower the rate of taxes per assessment, then say they cut our taxes, even though our bill, when we get next fall, will be going up. Is that kind of pretty much the trend that happens around here?
Your guess is as good as mine, little buddy.
Yeah, well, I don't know, to sit here and scream about the public schools like one caller did. I mean, I get tired of that being the whipping boy. And I don't think they overpay for public schools up here, and certainly I wouldn't want to do away with them. But I don't know. I think a person could protest this increase. Do they actually go around to every house around here and see if the value?
I don't think so. I don't think they do that. No.
No, well, they do that in California. You know, when you buy a place, they come over and see, okay, is this a fair price that they paid for it? And then basically, I did a lot of improvements. I bought places that were kind of run down and fixed them up, and their tax assessment never went up. But they probably took a place that I bought for $158,000. I got a good deal. It wasn't run down or nothing. And down the street, there was one for $180 with about the same square footage. So I think they just do it all on paper. And I don't think I could sell the house that I bought last year for $184,000. So I'm going to go down to the Canyon County tax assessor and say, hey, wait a minute, how could you jump this thing 16% when the average price went up more like about 7%? So I think we'll wait and see what the county puts as a tax rate, and then do our complaining once we, get our tax bill about how much taxes are going up. Now, another thing in this state is if you're, a very low income taxpayer and you're a senior, I think you can get some kind of exemption from even paying property taxes. I know a couple of people who don't pay any property taxes because they come under that
exemption.
So, pardon?
They come under that exemption.
Yeah. So, and they do. The state's pretty generous for, a place that you live in. You get a 50% exemption. In California, all you get is a homeowner's exemption. Is $7,000 off the value. Well, that's nothing. That was a $7,000 exemption that went in when Ronald Reagan was governor, and that's been almost 50 years ago. They've never raised that. But perhaps maybe in this state there needs to be a Proposition 13 revolution like we had in California 4 years ago, because if these keep spiraling out of control, I don't know. It'll certainly make people think twice before they want to buy in Idaho. Maybe what's oceanfront property in Greenland going for these days? Hey, have a good day.
Tom, thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. And by the way, the word for this hour, code 2, ATM. ATM for Win Kevin Miller's Cash on KIDO Talk Radio. ATM. Remember, our code, one word during the 8 o'clock hour was money. Listen at 3:06 for your third word of the day. The more words you get, the more probability that you could win up to $5,000 on KIDO Talk Radio. Tea Party Bob joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today? I see we're on the tax situation again.
Taxes.
It's amazing, right? We just pay and pay and pay.
Yes.
Most taxpayers don't realize that Idaho has a clawback law. Now, this law allows counties, cities, fire districts, and local taxing districts to increase their property tax collections by up to 3% per year, plus property taxes for annexations and new buildings built within that past year. Anything more requires voter approval as long as it does not exceed the maximum levy rate. So taxing districts can choose to be frugal or not and can collect the full amount or leave some of it on the table of up to 3%. Now, under the 95 law, this uncollected tax can accrue with no limits or expiration date and actually become a liability to the property owners. Each year, when they set their budgets, the taxing districts with accrued foregone taxes can choose to collect none, some, or all of it. So each year, the tax commission reports how much foregone tax each district has accrued. Now, to go back to 2014, Ada County decided it didn't need some money. It needed some money, so it added a $1.7 million charge onto the taxes that year. This was part of what they had left on the table. Last year, after collecting 3% annual increase, the county took $4.27 million in foregone taxes. So this is like a ticking time bomb that sits there for everybody who is paying taxes on their property. So Idaho's taxing districts have accrued $108 million in foregone taxes, including $10 million last year. When you look at this in perspective, you can imagine what could happen if they decided they wanted to tax you right to the hill. The only candidate for governor that had lower taxes as part of his platform was Congressman Labrador.
Well,
you can bet.
Look what happened to him.
Sure. I know. You can be sure that Mr. Little at the helm, we can almost count on higher taxes for the next 4 years. Does anyone think for 1 minute that if Medicaid expansion is passed on the ballot in November, it is going to mean lower taxes? You know, if the feds decide they're going to reduce what they pay for the Medicaid services, we're going to have to raise state taxes. So if you think you're tax heavy now, just wait to see what's coming in the future.
No, you're just full of good news.
Keep in mind. Well, just keep in mind, nothing's for free. Someone always has to pay for it. And we're the targets. Like I said, you get the government you deserve.
Well, that's why elections matter. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning.
And coming up, Gary in Boise, Donna in Parma. First, live to Chicago to talk about Vegas. Jeff Manasso of Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. Jeff, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my friend. How are you?
So Vegas could be shutting down?
How come you never answer when I ask how you're doing?
I'm just a consistent curmudgeon, sir.
Yeah, Vegas could shut down, although we're getting late word that negotiators have reached a tentative labor agreement that would cover about a quarter of the 50,000 hotel, culinary, and casino workers who threatened to strike after a midnight deadline passed last night. So these workers, they all voted to authorize a strike, or at least their representatives did last week, in disputes over wages, security, and worries about automation that have kept unions and casino workers basically in a stalemate. So we heard that many of the workers could have walked off the job today. Some of them had been signing up for strike pay. Some of them have been signing up for picketing shifts. But it's a big deal if the Strip shuts down because there's nobody to man the jobs. And so it's no surprise. It's not necessarily surprising that it appears anyway that there's some sort of tentative labor agreement at this point, at least with some of these workers, and I think more will follow.
Kind of wild, though. You don't expect the Strip to shut down. Just the thought of that and just the millions of amount of money that is generated every day in Vegas.
Well, it would be a huge loss, not only to the city, but to residents and to, obviously, people who work at these casinos. The last time we saw a strike like this in Las Vegas was 1984. It spanned well over a month, and it cost the city and workers tens of millions of dollars. Now, it was projected that it would cost the city and these casinos and workers about $10 million a day. So there was a lot to lose.
Well, hopefully it won't impact the Golden Knights.
That was another thing. A big showing in Las Vegas right now. You know, you've got some serious Stanley Cup action happening in Sin City. And can you imagine if there was no place to stay? Of course, I hear the Lake Mead Inn Motel still has reservations. If you want to protect your stay in the coming days and weeks.
Well, that is reassuring, Jeff Manasso. We appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
All right, Jeff Manasso joining us. Back to your phone calls. Gary in Boise about property taxes. Gary, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning. Hey, it's been a while since the primary, since I talked with you. And
my man, Gary from Michael Snyder. How are you?
Yeah, how are you, sir?
Good.
Hey, I've been kind of pounding out some numbers here, and, everybody's calling in with their own story about their taxes. From on my house, I live in the southeast Boise, and from 2010 to 2014, my assessed value went up $6,200. And from 2014 to 2018, it went up $75,500. So if you look at the math, I'm looking at about $52.33 per day. Now, there's something drastically wrong, as Tea Party Bob said with this, and he had a lot of good numbers as to the whys and what fors with why our taxes go up. But, you know, years ago, I had gone down to Ada County Tax Assessor, and I took these numbers, different numbers at the time, which represented issues of the same. And they looked at it, and they adjusted it. And people need to do that. People need to go down to the tax assessor's office. They need to take their numbers. They also can go to these public hearings. If they look at the bottom of their taxing district information, there's hearings, and they can go and I'm not sure if they can just listen and or just talk or whatever, but you know, people need to, I think, engage themselves in questioning why these taxes are going up so much. You know, I can kind of speculate on what I believe why they're going up and in the different areas, but where I'm at, there hasn't been a lot of things that have happened in Southeast Boise other than the different types of projects that jump up here and there around Harris Ranch or Bound Crossing, over in Park Center. There's things popping up. So those things are reflected on why taxes are going up where I'm at. But overall, I mean, I think this is a drastic, like in my house, a drastic increase, you know, in 4 years, jumping up, you know, almost $76,000 in value, which is absurd, really absurd. So I just wanted to kind of give my 2 cents about that.
Gary, don't be a stranger. We appreciate you coming back.
Thank you. I'll be calling in hopefully regularly, but thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you, Gary. Let's go to Donna in Parma on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Donna.
Thank you, Kevin. About property taxes, of course. Ours went up a tremendous amount. We called the assessor's office yesterday in Canyon County, and they said, an appraiser has to call you back. He did. And he was not very informative and, in my opinion, not very educated. There were just too many things that he didn't know the answer to. And we can have our house appraised, of course, at our own expense, but if there's a big enough difference there, then we can take it back to the county, and then they will give us the paperwork to try and have this amount amended. So that's where it stands out here in Parma. People need to keep on top of this. The gentleman said that our elected officials are the ones that are trying to take everything from our pockets. It is exactly correct. And if possible, I would like to know where Tea Party Bob gets his information.
Well, do you ever go online?
Yes, sir, I do.
You can reach out to him at gemstatepatriot.com. He'll respond. Just send him an email or on Facebook.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin, and you have a good day, sir.
Thank you, Donna. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Our friend Mike Tracy joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Kevin. Interesting discussion on property tax. And by the way, happy Friday. And, as the consistent curmudgeon, I would say just a consistent conservative. It would be more in tune with what you've a consistent, compassionate conservative. How do you like the alliteration?
Yes, the George Bush wing of the family. Yes,
of the conservative.
Yes,
conservative party.
Right.
Hey, on property tax, I got my bill this last week or so, and for the first time in my life, I've never liked my taxes going up, but it's gone up so much. I am going to challenge them, and that means I'm going to go in front of the county commissioners as the board of examiners. It's one of their 3 hats they wear. County commissioners are really the only entity, at least in Idaho, that wear a judicial, an executive branch, and a legislative branch hat. They do all 3 as county commissioners. And one of the reasons Dave Case got beat just one of the many reasons he got beat was because he raised taxes so much during his tenure. And we saw that nice little bump on foregone taxes that it went somewhere up by 2 years ago, 9 to 12%. That's the property tax cap is 3%. That means the county commissioners came in and bumped taxes up 3 to 4 times of what they should have been able to do because of this little loophole in state tax law. If anything, my property taxes should have gone down. There is so much waste in county government, and it starts with the county commissioners' pay. The work that they're doing is second rate, and I'm very disappointed in what they're doing. They should be ashamed of themselves for raising taxes like this. Bob McQuaid, as the county assessor, has got to follow certain guidelines, and people have talked about this and that. But Bob McQuaid's a very conservative man and does not like taxes, but he is charged by state constitution and by code to do certain things as the assessor. And so he follows those guidelines, and then it's out of his hands after that. Then it goes to the Board of Examiners, which are the county commissioners. So if anybody has any corrections for me, I'd be happy to hear those. But based on what I have seen, all three, these guys are all Republicans, supposedly, and supposed to be, looking at cutting taxes and cutting spending, and we've seen anything but since this particular trio has taken office. I'm extremely disappointed. When we had Fred Tillman and Rick Izaguirre in there, those two, along with whoever the third person was, we saw fiscal conservatism, and we saw budget cuts, and we saw really a tight rein on spending. And since they've gone, all we've seen is taxes go up and spending go up.
Well, maybe it's time for them to go.
Well, Dave Case is going to be out the door come January. He lost the primary to Sharon Ullman, and Sharon is a very strong fiscal conservative, and she'll shake things up in there a little bit when she gets there in January.
Well, the commissioners, they monitor this show. Anything you want to say to them?
Well, I would say they should be. I'm very disappointed in what they've done. I voted, and supported them in the past, and I've been very, very disappointed in especially that foregone taxes, that 9 to 12% bump we got a couple of years ago. That's ridiculous. And the fact that we not only had to pay that, but now we have to continue to pay these 3% increases every year, as well as seeing our assessed value go up. I mean, they are robbing our pocketbooks every way they can through the various tax laws, both the constitutional laws that are in place as well as the code that's in place. And it's frustrating. We are supposed to be a conservative, less government, less tax state, and we're anything but when it comes to the county commission.
Mike Tracy, we appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin.
Our great friend Mike Tracy on 580 AM, 107.5 FM. Patriot Ray joins us now. Good morning, Patriot Ray.
Good morning. As we talked about yesterday, it's not only wrong that they're raising taxes at this rate and everything, it's actually criminal. They're doing something that drives people out of their homes. We just bought a house just a couple of months ago, and now we're getting a raise in our taxes already. This is ridiculous. You don't raise taxes on other people who bought a house at a certain rate, and then when they build something next door, because of that building next door, they come and evaluate your property again and raise it because of the price of those places. It's unfair. It's wrong. It takes people who are on fixed incomes to where they cannot afford their home, and this is just flat criminal. So, Kevin, we are grateful that you are there. The county commissioners, if you are listening, you've got to do something about this money tree that you think you have, that you can just pull the leaves off and you've got your pockets full of money. You cannot do that. And if services aren't taking care of things, then you've got to evaluate what they're doing to make sure the services are taken care of. Because with the amount of houses going in and what they charge to build a house and the fees that go into it, it should handle all of that very easily instead of ripping the other public off. I'm just fed up with it. But thank you, Kevin, for my opportunity to at least get my opinion.
By the way, thank you for your continued support of Miller's Mission and this program. We so appreciate you always being there for us and being our great role model in the community, sir.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts on that. All I want to do is help those that I'm able to. And it's hard because we're all on limited incomes. We're all just trying to do the best we can with what we've got. But yeah, when you get situations like them raising taxes the way they do and reevaluating your house, that's just, I'm sorry, it is criminal. And I can't see how many people are losing their homes because they can't afford them now because they're on a limited income. And they bought a house at a certain rate thinking they're going to be okay. And then all of a sudden this comes along. But I just talked to a friend. He figured that it was about 40% is what he was raised. I haven't really studied mine yet, but I'm excited to be able to look at it because I plan on protesting myself in that respect. They should not do that to the American public. We're supposed to be a conservative state. Let's be conservative. Let's really work that way and quit being rhinos up there. If you're a registered Republican and you're voting the other way, then you need to change your hat and go back to be a Democrat. All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you, Kevin. We appreciate what you do. And Kevin's just what you do every day because you're awesome. Thank you.
God bless you, Patriot Ray.
God bless. Bye.
Bye-bye. More coming up on 580 AM, 107.5 FM. Don't forget Glenn Beck coming up next on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to the guy who started this all, Mark and Eagle on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. Here in Eagle, I heard the gentleman talking about his property taxes going up $70,000 in 4 years. No, mine went up $100,000. I'm in a 25-year-old subdivision. There's nothing new around me. And here's the thing. A few years back, I went to the assessor's office about this. They base it on what homes sell for around you. Obviously, a lot of people already know that. So therefore, if a rich ex-Californian, ex-Oregonian, ex-Washingtoner, or Washingtonite comes in here and they sold their home for $750,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever in those high-priced states for those homes, they come in here and it's nothing to them to spend $300,000 for a home in your area and pay more than what the surrounding homes originally went for, what they were assessed at, which then pushes up your assessed value when the next year comes around. Eagle Sewer is another one. I'm paying right now $36 because Eagle Sewer keeps jacking up the sewer rates. $36 a month. That's $432 a year, Kevin, for just the privilege of flushing my toilet. And then I have my property tax bill, which shows that Eagle Sewer is also taking a big bite of that also, whatever amount they take out of that. Mike Moyle. I just left Mike another message because Mike never got back to me about the fracking issue. He didn't have the guts to call back to say that we were never going to do fracking here in the state. So I said, Mike, please have the courage to get in contact with KIDO and the Kevin Miller Show because I said a lot of people out there would like answers. He is the head of the state legislature for the Republican Party. I'd like to see this man have the courage to get on air with you guys and explain what the heck's going on. And I'll let you go on that. You have a good day, sir.
Mark, take care. Thank you. And we met Mike Moyle the other day. We would love to get him on. I don't think he'd have a problem coming on the program. More of your phone calls in a minute. Conservative Steve, Dan, and Nampa, hang on. First, traffic and weather together. And we go to Conservative Steve with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Conservative Steve.
Hey, Kevin. Mark is right. What we need to do, there's thousands and thousands of people that listen to your radio station, and what we need to do is hit the emails heavy, fast forward, send through, forward to all, get on the phone, leave messages, and what you have to do is you have to make a statement. This has got to stop. The gentleman from California, he's right in that sense, even though I don't like a lot of things from there, but that's what happened in California. You got to get an initiative on the board here of 1% max, or you have to limit it, or they just continue to go at will. I was from California, and that Proposition 13, it got on the platform, and that's what the people have to do. You got to stop this, or it's going to continue until you're taxed right out of your place. So
that's what we're seeing here.
What's that?
And that's what we're seeing here.
Exactly right. That's what I'm saying. You got thousands and thousands of faithful listeners. All you people out there listening, call your representatives. Get on the horn. Leave voicemails. Send emails. Whatever. Get on it, man, or it's not going to stop. So, all right. Have a great day and a great weekend, Kevin.
All right. Thank you, Conservative Steve. Dan and Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Living the dream, brother, and you?
Very good. Hey, I just wanted to make a comment. I don't know if a lot of people know this. Perhaps they do. But you can actually contest the assessed value of your home now through the county. I did this last year. They assessed my value. It went up substantially for 2017. I called the county's assessor's office. I talked with my personal assessor for my area over the phone. We contested it. We went before the board. They lowered it a little bit. Not enough to really satisfy what I thought was the right thing. So we contested it again, went to the next level, and they actually lowered it $37,000 over what the assessor had originally valued my home at.
Wow.
So that's huge. So for your listeners, take the steps, call the county. You can contest the value of your home. Sometimes it makes no sense whatsoever. They're just grabbing numbers out of the air. I compared with some of my neighbors, and it doesn't make any sense on how they're valuing the homes this year. We have a neighbor that their value of their home when they bought it this last year, they paid $70,000 less than my home, and when they got their assessment this year, my assessment and their assessment was the same dollar amount higher, $50,000. They just dropped $50,000 price tag. That's what we want to raise your value. It made no sense. 9 blocks away, same type of home, same size lot. Made no sense.
Dan, great point. God bless everybody.